Mvoko is at the AU Summit. We're live to him in Addis Ababa now. Good afternoon, Vuyo. Thank you for your time on the News Today desk. We understand that Sudan is calling on the US to hold these sanctions. We know that diplomatic ties were broken already in 1967 after the Arab-Israeli war. But those sanctions were relaxed a little bit in the 90s since the establishment of an independent South Sudan. What is that state of play between the United States and Sudan right now, Vuyo?
Well, as you correctly point out, and certainly from what the Sudanese foreign minister just said, they are lobbying the union to be on their side in ensuring that those sanctions come to an end. And in all likelihood, Sudan will get what it wants. However, whether the weight of the African Union will sway the United States of America is a different matter altogether. It's going to be one thing to call for the sanctions to come to an end, but something else that depends entirely on the Americans to actually act on the wishes of Sudan and the African Union cash.
For your alternative financing for the AU should come up. And we heard a great deal about it in last year's session right here at home in South Africa, where member states were encouraged to finance fully the operating budget of the union. But how realistic is this right now? We understand more than 70% of the budget is paid by external partners, and we've only managed to collect 30% or even less than this from member states so far. And 30 of our member states are currently indebted to the AU. Is this being maybe a little bit overambitious for now, and will we see some kind of follow-up discussion on the level of implementation and agreement on the scale of assessment when it comes to financing from our member states?
Well, it is certainly, the matter is on the table, but as things stand, it's not looking good at all. First of all, you look at what's going on in the world. Things aren't looking good for everybody, even more so members of the African Union, most of whom have really not been able to carry this organization even during the best of times. I mean, it's been countries like South Africa, like Nigeria, Algeria, that have been carrying the African Union. And those countries, although they haven't said it in as many words, but if you listen to what the diplomats have been saying over the past few days, they too don't, I think, in fact, they have said it, that they are not able to do what they have been able to do over the past 10 years or so. So the African Union has got to do more with less. Now, add to that, we spoke, in fact, with the AU chair a couple of days ago, and she did say that they have had to revise. Remember, this was one of those projects that she wanted to be her legacy project. She wanted to leave the African Union when she leaves it in a better financial position because they were, I mean, all the dangers of the current situation were pointed out. The fact that they had to rely on money from the European Union, the fact that they had to rely on some of the blocs that are hostile towards the agenda of the African Union, who would rather have African countries really well colonized in some sense. The fact that African Union want to break away and be self-funding, self-sufficient was a threat to, you know, the former colonial powers who would have wanted their former colonies to still depend on them. But as things stand, it doesn't look like the situation is going to change. If anything, the situation is in fact going to be worse. Now, add to that, if you look at the human resource needs of the African Union itself, of the Union, let alone the countries, they need expertise. But the reality, certainly from a conversation we're having yesterday afternoon with the head of the AU's human resources unit, he was saying that while there were a lot of Africans who were prepared to work for the unions, who wanted to put their shoulder to the wheel, the fact of the matter is that the union couldn't afford them. And these people were being snatched, end up being snatched by universities across the globe. These people, experts, end up being snatched by multilateral institutions like the United Nations. So the money thing is going to be a very, very serious problem. But as things stand, there doesn't seem to be a way out. It doesn't look like the problem is going to be resolved anytime soon, Tesh.
Thank you, Vuyo. Vuyo Mvoko is our contributing political editor at the AU Summit in Addis Ababa, underway in Ethiopia this weekend. Let's move on to